Hey guys, welcome back. So I got a request from a Reddit user to upgrade my upgrade and purchases node. If you guys remember or you watched that video, this was the node that I ended up creating for you guys with C++. If you haven't seen that video, there's a link in the top right. You can click on that and watch it now if you're interested. But just to give you guys a summary, the node, what happened before was you would plug in the player resources for these four currencies that they have. And the gems was a premium currency here. And then you would plug in the purchase cost. Now if I split this struct pin here, you can see you put in how much gold, silver, copper, platinum, whatever this upgrade or purchase would cost. And then there was this option for an exchange rate for the gems to cover anything that was missing from these four. Now there was a way for you to change the names. I mentioned it, how to do it in C++, but other than that, these were like the hard-coded names in here. And the nice thing about this node was you were able to call it from any blueprint since it was a blueprint function library. But the bad thing about it was there was no way to confirm a purchase. So if a player wanted to spend, upgrade something, there was no way to then have a widget pop up and say, are you sure you want to, buy X, Y, and Z? So that's what this Reddit user wanted me to implement, and we now have that here. I had to create an actor component, so the bad thing about this is it does need to be part of an actor now, like this. You'll need to add it as a component, but the good thing is you can now separate in time and space the attempt to spend the resources from actually utilizing them. So this component now has two functions. The first one is called spend resources, and the second one is utilize resources. And if you hover over this, I give you a description of what exactly is going on. You have to call spend resources first, and this will attempt to figure out if the player has enough, or if they don't, if they can cover it with a premium currency. And then if that's all okay, after you do that, you can have a little widget pop up here, do whatever, but eventually you're going to call this utilize resources, and that's what actually deducts all of the resource balances from the player's bank. So these two arrays here, the nice thing about them is you can give names to your resources. You don't have to use C++ for this anymore. So the available resources here is just this struct, and I show you an example of it. I broke the struct here, and it has four components: a resource name, the resource balance, so that's how much the player has, and a conversion ratio. So each one of your resources can have a different conversion ratio to the premium currency if you choose. So I'll show you guys an example here. I've created this array and it has four different resources. We have gold. Our balance is 1,000 and the conversion ratio is 25, which means that one premium unit will give you 25 units of gold. Then we have silver at 1,000 and the conversion ratio is 10 here. And you see this final box is a boolean that you can check for is premium. So if you do have a premium resource in your game, you can just check this box, and this node will automatically figure out what the conversion ratio is for each one of your members. So you can give the names whatever you want, and this will automatically update within this node. So you don't even have to worry about it, as long as it's not case sensitive. So as long as this name is the same as what you're going to put here in the cost, I can show you an array of costs. So as you see here, I've even reordered them. Silver, gold, bronze, and diamonds are at the bottom. So it doesn't matter what order you put your resources in either the player resources or the upgrade array. It doesn't matter. The node will figure out which ones go with which. So let me go back to the player resource here and type gold back in. The other thing we have here is an error message. This will just let you know if anything's going on, like if the node isn't functioning the way you guys think it should. This message will let you know a little bit about what's going on within the C++. And this is just for if you have that widget that pops up and says, are you sure you want to spend like 50 diamonds, whatever. This will give you the number that you need to cover the other resources if you have deficits. So those are the only two variables that you have from within this component, and these are the two functions that you get. So now I'm just going to show you guys an example with our player resources and our upgrade arrays already set. We're just going to loop through. It's going to tell you what the initial balance is for each resource, and then it's going to tell you what the cost of each resource is, and then we're going to wait a little bit. We're going to have this delay, and then we're going to tell you it's attempting to spend the resources, and we're going to call this node, and then after that we're going to have another delay before we actually utilize the resources, and then it's going to update. This loop is just going to go through and tell you what the player's final balance is for everything. Now, because this is an actor component, you'll see if we go here into the actor component, it has two overridable events. One is to confirm purchase, so this is if the player already has enough resources. This event will fire off, and this is where you would be able to put your widget in or whatever else you want to do in between the attempt to purchase and actually reducing the player's resources from that purchase. And if they don't have enough, this event will fire off and it will tell you insufficient funds. So let's see how this works. If we hit play, you guys can see here it starts off telling you the initial balance. So we did have 1,000 of everything, and we start off with 40 diamonds. And the initial cost, you see silver is going to be 500, gold 250, bronze is 100, and you can actually charge your premium currency if you want. So it's going to cost 25 diamonds as well. Now you see here it says initial attempt to spend resources, and then it fired off the confirm purchase. So this is where you'd be able to break up the attempt to spend from actually deducting the resources at this point. So we'll just let this continue on. And now you see it has updated. After it says confirm, you see gold's final balance is 750. We started with 1,000. The cost was 250. It's correctly updated to 750. Silver is 500 because we started with 1,000 and the initial cost was 500. And you see the bronze also is at the correct amount, and the diamonds is 15 because we started with 40 to 25 here is 15. So now let me show you guys an example of what happens if you don't have enough resources. So if we take the player resources here, we'll say gold, we'll put down to 0. Now remember the gold was 250. And as you can see here, the conversion ratio is 25, which means it should take 10 premium units. So now if we hit play, now it says insufficient funds. So it fired off the other blueprint implementable event, and now it says the total amount of premium currency needed is 10. And that's correct because 10 times 25, which was the conversion ratio, is 250, and that's how much the gold costs. So now if we wait, we can see here gold is now 0 because we had to use premium currency. So it started at 0, we used up 10 diamonds, and we're back to 0. And the other two are the same. Our final balance for diamonds is 5 because we had to take 10 to cover the gold, plus the 25 that it actually is supposed to cost was 35. 35 and 5 is 40. Alright, and one last thing I'll show you guys. For example, if you put in golds with a whole bunch of S's or something like that, this will actually show you just some of the error handling that this node has. So everything starts off fine, and then it tries to spend resources, and then it says gold because this was one of the costs. It costs a certain amount of gold here, did not match any resource name listed in the resource array. So it will just decline everything. And that's from printing out the error message, guys. So that's what I meant. If something's not working properly, you can use that error message and hopefully it'll figure out what's going on. Alright, so now let me show you guys how to add this to a new project. Okay, so now that we have a new project open, we can right click here in the content browser, create a new C++ class, and we will select an actor component, hit next, and we're just going to call this master bank, and we'll hit create class, and then we will wait for Visual Studio to start up. Okay, now that Visual Studio has compiled, if you guys have watched any of my other C++ tutorials, you already know the drill. We're going to copy this line here. Just hit Control X, and I'm going to put it up here at the top. And then we're going to go to Notepad here, and I'm going to take everything from the top right down to this, right above this dashed line. Control C, and we're just going to select all of this and paste. And then we're going to take this line again, Control X, and we're going to replace this line right here. Then we're going to go into the C++, and we're going to take everything below this yellow line, Control C, and we can just hit Control A, Control V. And once we're done with that, we go up here to Build, say Build Solution. Now if you named this Master Bank like I did, you won't have to do anything else. If you named it something else, everywhere that you see this U Master Bank, you're going to have to replace that with the name of whatever your actor component is. Alright, so we'll just wait for Visual Studio to compile. Now that it's compiled, you should see build 1 succeeded down here. If not, double check and make sure you copy pasted everything properly and that the name of your component, whatever you named it here, is listed here and is in the header file here in the C++. Same thing here. Okay, so now we can exit out of Visual Studio. We don't need this anymore. And now we're going to come in here to Content, and we're going to right click and we're going to create a blueprint class, and we're going to search for Master Bank here. Select and call this Master Bank BP. Now if we open this up, you guys will see, in addition to event begin play and event tick, you also have this insufficient funds and you have confirm purchase. So these are the two blueprint implementable events that you guys can use and override here. And if we go into any blueprint here and we just add a component, Master Bank BP, make sure you get the blueprint version. We can drag that out and we can call spend and utilize. And you guys can play around with this, mess around with these arrays here, do whatever you want. I believe that the node works pretty well. If you guys find any errors, don't hesitate to let me know. And I hope you guys thought this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more tutorials. Alright, see you guys later.